This is a non-scheduled meeting of the Waterville City Council. There are some agendas on the city's website for anyone that wants to know what we are discussing. All items appearing on consent agenda, I don't have to worry about. We don't have that today. All items listed under unfinished business, new business are voted on separately. First, councilors will be given an opportunity for questions or comments. Once councilors all have had an opportunity to speak, citizens will be given an opportunity for comments or questions. Citizens must identify themselves. Each citizen will be allowed one opportunity to speak and will be limited to 3 minutes. Finally, councilors will be given another opportunity to speak or comment. Let's see. Does anybody have a conflict of interest? No.
Brown-tail moths?
Yeah, well, I think we all have a conflict. Everybody look at Rick and pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, so I'm just going to read out the statement that I put out, and then I'll turn it over to everybody else. So before we get started today, I want to take a few minutes to say thank you to the city staff for pulling together the meeting with such short notice. I also want to thank the entire council. Waterville is extremely fortunate to have active representatives. We have a diverse group of councilors with varying backgrounds. I want to thank planning board member David Johnson, who last night helped go through over 100 years of commissioner reports. Not my ideal Thursday night. What we found is as far back as 1911, we have been warned about the inaction in regards to brown-tail moths. I know we are a different group than 110 years ago. I sincerely appreciate all of you, and I am thankful to be working with a group of individuals that is focused and concerned with the well-being and health of our citizens. Yesterday, I asked City Clerk to declare an emergency meeting, and here we are. As of yesterday, we had about 10-day window to plan and act before it's too late. We are now down to 9. So this discussion has to happen before Tuesday's scheduled meeting. We can't afford to waste any more time. We have lots of questions and we need solutions. To the residents of Waterville, we have heard you and we are listening. It's my understanding that the George J. Mitchell is dealing with an outbreak and some of our parks are littered with the invasive brown-tail moth. The emails and calls we have received, along with the pictures you have all sent of the rashes on yourselves and children, are heartbreaking. I'm sorry for the uncomfortableness you must be dealing with, but with this council, I am hopeful we will act swiftly. The city council and residents today, we must declare a public health nuisance. After a pandemic year, while we are finally able to start getting out and socializing, this is the last thing we want to be dealing with. Although we obviously can't bring the moth to extinction, there are things we can do to mitigate the issue and start to protect our residents and prepare for the future. We have been in contact with state entomologists for guidance. Waterville is lucky to have our own resident biologist, Councillor Klepak. Ward 3 has been a strong advocate for eradicating the issue, and I wholeheartedly support him. With our Public Works Department and other organizations, I am hopeful that we will come up with a plan to eradicate this issue. It starts with declaring a public health nuisance. Once we do, I will be calling on Governor Mills' office and state legislature to help us prevent outbreaks in the future and give us some guidance. We need all hands on deck. Other towns in the region should also start being proactive and approach this with a multi-pronged approach is our best chance to defend against this invasive species while protecting citizens and our environment. I will say that whatever we figure out, I am opposed to spraying chemicals, be it organic or otherwise, around the city. We should listen to the experts. There are ways to inject trees to protect them from organisms that will harm them, including the brown-tail moth. In the winter, we will also have to do some work to cut down nests. It all starts here. I hope you will all find that declaring a public health nuisance is the right thing to do and sets us on the most logical step forward. Waterville residents, I just ask that you be patient with us. We are in this together, and this too shall pass. I'm going to pass it on to Councillor Klepak. to give us a quick little rundown, and then any questions from there, and we can go.
Thank you, Mayor Coelho. So the first thing I want to make sure that people understand that the public health nuisance is something that is certified by the state CDC, the Maine CDC, and the action that we're taking tonight is to pursue that. That's at least what I advocate. That the declaration of public health nuisance will enable the city of Waterville to spend municipal funds, public funds, both on public lands, on public right-of-way, and with the permission of the landholder on private lands, without having to go through a lot of hoops. That will enable the city to have a more holistic approach, a more geographic approach to containing the problem. I certainly want residents to understand that this is not about exterminating the moths. It is about managing the problem until we have a succession of seasonal weather conditions that will end the current outbreak. This is something, as the mayor had said, this is something that has been in Waterville before, and the long-term trends of climate change are going to be something that are probably going to make it that it is more frequent and more severe with time. So it is wise for the city to get the outbreak under control as much as we can now, and to recognize that this may be an ongoing problem of management. But if we can get it down, if we can get it under control, that the magnitude of the problem shouldn't be that bad year to year. There are a number of examples around the state that Waterville can look to, a number of other municipalities that the city of Waterville can look to as an example of how to manage this pest. In terms of treatment, immediately, I said on Tuesday, and I'll reiterate that when this pest becomes the most obnoxious to people is one of the hardest times to treat it. And certainly there is an impulse, there's a reflex to just blanket it, sprays of canopy sprays, basil sprays, whatever we can do. And there are differing opinions amongst experts out there as to whether this is the right, whether we are still in the window or outside of the window for treatment this year. And John Lombardi, so maybe Steve can talk, the city manager can talk a little bit about what John Lombardi, the arborist for the city, found and heard when he talked to various contractors today about immediate treatment, not going forward into the coming year and season, because that's going to be a different plan that I think we have a pretty good idea of how to manage that. But the question, I think, in terms of an emergency meeting is, what are we going to be doing now in the next week? Should we take action, or is simply taking the steps necessary to enable the correct measures for the next year? Steve, can you talk about that for a second? Or
sure, I can. Our public works engineer did a survey of the contractors that did this kind of work in Kennebec County. He did that this afternoon and got a number of different perspectives on how to deal with this infestation. The bottom line, though, is that we have some choices to make going forward, but none of the choices that we can make today would make a difference before the 15th of June. None of these contractors are available to do any work, and they've all told us that it's too late in the season to mobilize and make an effective attack on these moths. Probably the most promising approach that he found is a liquid injection into the trees that have the nests in them, and that would protect the trees and would keep the nests away for a period of about 2 years. So, if you remove the home, perhaps then the moths won't be residing here in Waterville. The spraying is an option, but it's not a popular option. We've heard that from the mayor, and we've heard that from others. It's not even a popular option among the contractors that do this kind of work, although they do say that using organic treatments provides about a 40 to 50% kill rate on the moths and the caterpillars, and that using non-organic treatments has about an 85 to 90% kill rate on the pests. So there are a number of decisions to be made going forward, but unfortunately, nothing we can do today will result in any action before the 15th, which is when the arborists have told us that the window is closed for this season.
Anybody else have questions? Councillor Foss.
So I have two things I heard from one of my constituents on Evergreen. He's infested with them in his oak trees. I'm all in on this, like the mayor said, and City Manager Daley just said. I'm not in for any type of aerial pesticides, things like that. I like the idea of being able to inject a tree. And Councillor Klepek can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think breaking that cycle this year in hopes of a better next year is a smart approach. Ben Grant from Martin Ave gave me a shout. I know him personally. He also asked that anything that we look at and think about, maybe there's a public help of funds that could help out homeowners in taking care, helping mitigate on their own personal properties. Past that, nothing's in stone, but something that we can look at from a financial standpoint. So let's get it done.
Councillor Klepek.
Yeah. Hey, Rick. Thank you for that vote of confidence there. I would say a couple things. First of all, that the declaration of public health nuisance is the key piece that we need to be able to do as your constituent suggests, which is to be able to, whatever the treatment regime that the city decides to do, we have the leeway, the freedom to be able to make the decision to treat a tree that's on a piece of private property, as long as the property owner agrees to that treatment, right? So that's an important step that we're taking right now. You can tell, hopefully we'll take right now, you can tell your constituent that. As far as, I mean, we can hash this out in the future, but as far as the treatment regime that we have going forward, I would urge, I don't like chemicals a whole lot either, and I am probably the most skeptical of them on the council, maybe. And but I would, yeah, I would also suggest that the council should not rule out. I think that a integrated approach that has a variety of different approaches and applications could be smart, and that not all sprays are universally a horrible thing, depending on whether they're used during the day or at the night. In the nighttime, some sprays can be used at night, and they are only toxic to certain insects who have to come into contact with the wet pesticide on the leaves. So anyways, I don't want to get into all those details right now, but I would urge people to keep their minds open so we can really have put together the correct treatment regime for the city. Certainly injection is going to be necessary for any trees that need to be treated in proximity to the river or the stream, just because of state law.
Councillor Green and then Councillor Frankie.
So what action are we talking about? Injecting trees before June 15th? I'm a little bit confused about, it sounds like there really isn't any action we can take.
Correct.
Unless somebody steps up, unless we can get a contractor or somebody that does that sort of work and I would implore any company that does that sort of work that wants to help the residents of Waterville to start contacting the city manager.
Right. I mean, are we limiting ourselves to Kennebec County? I mean, can we not?
No, I don't care if you come from Alaska and you know how to deal with this. Let's make our residents protected. Go ahead, Tom.
Hey, Steve, did you speak to the contractor down in, or did John speak to the contractor down in Brunswick? Because the arborist that I spoke to in Brunswick, when I asked him specifically this question, is it like done? Because as you know, many of the contractors are kind of through with doing it. And Dennis Wilson, the head arborist for the city of Brunswick, said, no, absolutely not. You can treat up until the 15th. And he had worked with, I forget the name. I'm forgetting the name there, but I had sent you the name of that contractor. Had he contacted that company as well?
Everything you sent me, I forwarded on to John.
Mm-hmm.
And the report that I got back says that he placed calls with everyone who was a licensed pesticide applicator that was found on the main.gov site, as well as Welltree, Asplund, Arbor Technologies, and Davy Tree, 33 companies in total.
Yeah.
And he received many different thoughts on application of chemicals to treat for the moths.
Yeah.
And then he listed the 4 different options that we've talked about. And those options, by the way, are to cut the nests out of the trees. That's number 1, which is a very labor-intensive and very expensive approach. The second is the foliage spraying that we've been talking about. The third is the liquid injection of the tree, which he says here not only kills the brown-tailed moths, but it kills any other insects that are in the tree.
That eat the tree. They have to eat the leaves.
Okay.
Yeah, it's my understanding that it requires them to. It's any insect that is feeding off of the tree would be affected.
Correct.
Not anything just landing on it and sitting on it. They would have to be eating from it.
And then the fourth option is to cut the tree down.
Yeah.
And it's important to note here that he says that the cost of foliage spraying and liquid injection is about the same, and it runs at $12 per inch of diameter of the tree. Average tree diameter is 15 inches, so that's about $150 a tree.
Yeah.
So, Councillor Green, did you have any other questions?
Just one quick follow-up, and that is, is the city engaged in IPM at all? Integrated Pest Management? No.
Not that I'm aware.
No.
That's a question for Matt. That's a question for Matt.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Just because, just to this question of spraying versus, it's just a procedure that schools have to follow to make sure that any actions they take are safe. And so, as Councillor Klepak said, sometimes spraying is not is deemed, not harmful to,
Oh. I mean,
people. Although obviously, yes, chemicals are not good, so we have to be very cautious. But anyway, I was just curious if there is.
I'll find out and I'll let everybody know.
Okay.
Councillor Frankie and then Councillor Morris.
Well, it sounds like the city manager is doing everything he can to move forward on the short-term and long-term solutions to the presence of the insects. I have two questions, though. Number one, have we talked to the school superintendent to see what the effect this has had on the children who are in school? And number two, assuming that we can't do much more this year in terms of controlling the little caterpillars, are there any kinds of steps we can take to mitigate the presence of their scratchy little hairs that are apparently just in the air right now? That's what I haven't had any caterpillar on me, but I've been scratching all over.
Makes
The
you
answer to
scratch
your
just
first-
thinking about it.
The answer to your first question is no, we haven't talked with the school superintendent. We'll make that call. I'll reach out to him tonight.
So before I send you over to Cleatback, Claude, I have talked to some of the schools, and I actually got a hold of the George J. Mitchell today, and they are scheduled to spray on the 11th. They actually have a doorway in a tree that was essentially blocked off and sealed because they were getting into the school. My big concern for this summer is that we are looking at summer camps and summer school all summer long, and I want to make sure that our kids are safe. Councillor Cleatback?
Yeah. So to answer Councillor Frankie's question, and for the benefit of any attendees or however this information will get disseminated, there are a number of things that we can do to survive this summer. The first thing is any windows on your house that face the prevailing wind should be kept closed, particularly if you are downwind of trees that are infected. Secondly, if you have an air conditioner, it's a good time to change the filter on it and use it. And that should help with the respiratory component for people. Washing your clothes frequently if you're outside, particularly outside after having done yard work or mowing, particularly, or a neighbor mows, particularly under a tree that has been affected. If you have an outbreak and you notice that, like, as soon as you notice, you start getting welts, if you take duct tape or packing tape, you can apply that directly to the welt and rip it off like a Band-Aid. It's, they say you can fix anything with duct tape. This is another example. Just stick some duct tape on, rip it off, and it should, if there are any hairs embedded in your skin, it should pull them with it. It should take them with it. So yeah, just put some tape on, rip it off, and then wash it with cool soapy water. And then if you continue to have irritation, you can use topical hydrocortisone, topical Benadryl, and any kind of topical lidocaine. So a topical lidocaine would be something that would be in like an antiseptic spray that has the anesthetizer in it that makes a cut not hurt. Or you can go to a pharmacy, and the various pharmacies can put together. They mix all that stuff into one thing that you can apply all at once. Some people like to put a little bit of Vicks Vapor Rub in it and use that as the base and mix it all together. And the menthol apparently has some sort of beneficial effect as well. Oral Benadryl can help. And if it's not, or other antihistamines, and if it's not resolving, it becomes really too severe for you to be able to sleep or anything, you can just go to your doctor and they can manage you. If you're in question, if you're concerned at all, just go and speak to your primary care physician. I've been in touch with a woman named Jill Colvin, Dr. Jill Colvin. She is a dermatologist for the Maine General System. She said that the Maine General System, her office, has seen an exponential increase in patients coming in this year. And it was a spike over a pretty much non-existent baseline last year, but and 2019. But this year there's been a huge spike. If you're having trouble breathing, definitely go seek medical attention. If you can't, if you're having a hard time drawing a breath, seek medical attention, or at least take some antihistamines. So.
All right. Last thing I'd say, Tom, if you don't mind, if we can get with Steve on Monday, maybe we can get a lot of that information you just spoke about and put it together in some sort of online pamphlet so that if anybody is having issues, they have a resource to get to, and we'll sort of give them some of that information. Councilor Morris, did you have anything else to add, or are we good? You're on mute. All right, no. All right. Oh, Councilor Green?
Yeah, so if the Mitchell School is having the spraying done next week, who's doing that spraying? And can we arrange with that person to do some spraying for us? One of my constituents that I heard from actually was going to pay their taxes at City Hall, sat on a bench, and there was a nest that and he ended up in express care. So, I feel like we can at least do something on city property. If we do have, probably this sprayer that's doing the Mitchell School is somebody contacted through this IPM system. So let's try to at least explore that avenue and do what we can on city property to mitigate this immediately.
I agree. Our best recourse this year is probably going to be city property so that we can mitigate at least the public spaces. Like I said before, these kids are going to be all over the place. Families are out. This is not what we want to be dealing with as we're all let loose from our homes. Last thing, and again, if you are a contractor that does this sort of work, start using the phone. It's time to play Captain Savior. I'm going to move this to a vote unless anybody's got anything else to talk about.
What are we voting on?
We are voting on declaring a public health nuisance. And then from there, it'll start giving us the opportunity. So if something does come along or somebody comes forward on Monday or Tuesday, we'll start being able to work with that person. We've already done the part that we need to. Councilor Frankie.
Well, in that regard, what we need to do procedurally is have a motion to declare an emergency. Then we can authorize the city manager with a second motion. We can authorize the city manager to go ahead and take steps to deal with the emergency.
So it must
in that regard, I move that we declare a public health emergency based on the brown-tailed moth infestation.
Can I ask that you change the wording to nuisance?
If I may, we have resolutions that on an agenda that we submitted to you all in the shared space. So if I may, I could read resolution 139 and then we can put a motion to put it on the floor.
Please.
Yes, please.
Okay. Resolution 139, 2021, a resolution providing for petitioning the Center for Disease Control to declare a brown-tailed moth public health nuisance. Whereas the brown-tailed moth is an invasive species of both forest and human health concerns, and whereas Maine and Massachusetts are the only states in the U.S. experiencing problems with this moth, and whereas the microscopic hairs found on brown-tailed moth caterpillars, skin sheds, and cocoons can cause skin reactions and breathing problems, and whereas the Maine Forest Service surveys indicate that populations of brown-tailed moths are high or very high in parts of Kennebec County, now therefore be it resolved that the City Council hereby petitions the Center for Disease Control to declare a public health nuisance regarding the high population of brown-tailed moths in the Waterville area and the negative health effects to its citizens.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Patty, we have one person with their hand up, a Cynthia Etcher.
Okay?
Ecker. I'm sorry, I don't know if I probably just butchered that.
So let me bring her in. Cynthia Ecker is being brought in now. Whoops, I brought in the wrong person.
You brought in Colleen.
Yes, I did. Hi, Colleen.
She's going to help me find some money for this.
Okay. Hi, Colleen. Sorry. I'm going to move you back, Colleen. Let's see. Well, hold on. Sorry. Change role to attendee. And here's Cynthia. Cynthia is here. Promote. Okay, here comes Cynthia. Hi, Cynthia. Can you hear us? You're muted. There you go. Do you have a question or a comment for the council?
I'm a little premature. I apologize because it won't change the feeling about this motion you're making. However, I would urge everyone to understand that when you're talking about spraying at this point, anywhere in the city where there's an infestation, you will not be doing away with the hairs that cause the problem. As the animals die, their skins and hairs will be shed wherever they have been. I would like to suggest to you folks that spraying may be a helpful answer over the long run. However, I think the City Council should also entertain the need around the city for warnings in public places where we know there has been an infestation, warning people that we know they're there, the hairs will be there, spraying or no spraying, and telling people to be cautious if they are sensitive. We also need to get public health information out to people about the kinds of things that Mr. Kleeklap talked about, what to do if you are affected by this brown-tailed moth. I think our citizens are hoping that by spraying it will all go away. That will not happen this summer.
Cynthia, thank you for that, and I agree. Spraying won't, and as I said earlier, I really am opposed to just spraying around the city. I think, Steve, if we can get with Public Works to sort of put up some signage around hot spots and hot zones.
Made a note.
Which is what she had said. I believe that's a very good alternative. Thank you, Ms. Etcher, for coming forward. Claude.
Yes, Steve, I think the explanation that Tom has put out, and if you would check with maybe the dermatologist over at Maine General and get some good public health information that we can post around, that's I think probably at this point mitigation of the little hairs is more important than killing the little caterpillars. The presence of the hairs is what the issue is at the moment, and that's a matter of let's find out ways to help people mitigate their exposure to that. So that's my suggestion, that be the main focus at this point. And then, as Tom says, let's look at some long-term solutions to address this when we get to the fall and winter.
I agree, Claude. Thank you. Thomas, feedback.
One other thing I forgot to say, for any residents that like to use box fans in their window, take the box fan and point it outward. Don't draw air into the house, push it out. I know, if you're going to use the box fan, take it in the house and put it on you, but don't suck air into the house from outside. If you're going to use a box fan in a window, blow it out of the house.
Patty, we're going to take one more question, and that's it from an attendee. I see you have David and Jennifer Johnson with their hands up.
Okay.
And then we're going to move this to a vote so that we can.
I'll bring them in. Hello to the Johnsons. Can you hear me okay? You're on mute, but if you have a question or comment, please feel free.
I do. All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
We can.
All right. So we did a little brief stint in the Mid-Coast area for about 4 years. So we're very familiar with the browntail problem. And one thing I wanted to address with that maybe could be helped with some public education is that last year I took horrified pictures all up and down KMD of the adult moths when they migrated into Waterville. They hadn't been here previously prior to, 100 years ago. And they are attracted to light. And so all of the businesses up and down KMD that were lit up, the car dealerships, the car washes, grocery stores, what have you, attracted moths by the millions that then migrated into the adjacent community and neighborhoods to lay their eggs. And so while I don't think that this is something that the city should say, we're having lights out like we're trying to avoid a blitzkrieg, that is something that maybe the public would find useful to know of. Don't attract them to have their eggs laid here, and without the light signaling them in like an airport runway, they might be laying more of them in the woods and less of them in town. But last year that was July 10th. So we are creeping up on the time when these caterpillars are going to be adults, and we don't want them to encourage multi-generations of these around here. And something that people can do if they do have to be out and about in their yards is the hairs are very light and fluffy. So a quick spray down with a garden hose of any grass or areas that you need to be in is going to weigh them down and keep them from becoming airborne and getting into your clothes and into your lungs. So if you've got things that are happening on city property or what have you, spraying down first might help make it less of a dangerous place for people to be and getting torn up from it. But I am one of the extremely sensitive people. I am one that encounters the breathing problems, and my entire body is covered in scars from the rashes. And I do have to go to the doctor and get the prednisone and the breathing treatments. And it's a bad bug. And I'm a fan of bugs. I garden, I believe in beneficial insects. I am definitely not an anti-bug kind of girl, but these are not good. And whatever we can do, whether it be to make this year less bad than we know it already is, and to make future years better, is a good thing, because this is a huge quality of life impact.
Thank you, Jennifer. Anyone else? I know we had a motion to move forward and we had a second. So, Patty, can I get a roll call?
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council Oliveira,
Yes.
Council Crepack.
Yep.
Council Green.
You're on mute.
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
Yes.
Council Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right. I want to thank you all again. I know it was short notice. I know it's a pain to drag you guys in on a Friday, but we have a short window. CLEPAC, thank you for everything that you've been doing. The rest of you enjoy your weekend. And again,
Mayor, we have 2 more items to vote on.
oh, we have more?
Yes,
All right, let's go. See, I tried to save you guys time.
sorry. We have Resolution 140, a resolution providing for declaring an emergency to preserve the public health and safety. Whereas the brown-tailed moth is an invasive species of both forest and human health concerns. The same paragraphs follow, so I will get to the final paragraph. Now therefore be it hereby resolved that an emergency is hereby declared pursuant to Article 4, Section 9 of the City Charter regarding high population of brown-tailed moths in the Waterville area and the threat to public health and the limited time window left to apply insecticides to mitigate their population.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Are we good? Oh, Councilor Frankie and then Councilor Green.
I'm sorry, are we authorizing the city manager to do these things? Is that, I missed part of the,
Well, we're actually declaring the public health emergency so that we can do an order to make an appropriation and an expenditure to expend funds with one reading only.
okay.
That was my question.
All right. Anyone else?
Exactly voting on. Okay.
All right, Patty, can I move to a roll call?
Councilor Morris,
Yes.
Councilor Olivera,
Yes.
Councilor Klepak,
Yes.
Councilor Green,
Yes.
Councilor Foss,
Yes.
Councilor Frankie,
Yes.
Councilor Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed. And the final item, Mayor, if I may,
Please.
Order 141, 2021, an order providing for authorizing an expenditure to combat brown-tail moths and wait for a bid process. Be it ordered by the Waterville City Council acting as municipal officers as follows. That the City Council hereby authorizes an expenditure of $5,000 to be paid to blank for application of insecticides to mitigate brown-tail moths. Insecticide materials are to be applied on city-owned land at sites to be determined by inspections performed by city staff. Be it further ordered that the payment of the $5,000 will come from the undesignated fund balance. Be it further ordered that the bid process detailed in the purchasing ordinance is waived in accordance with Article 5, Section B, that there is insufficient time to resort to the normal bid process. Be it further ordered that this order will authorize a response to the declaration of an emergency created by passage of Resolution 140-2021. Therefore, only one reading is required.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Councilor Frankie.
I'd like to amend this to say that the city manager is authorized to spend the $5,000 in the manner that he deems best to address the problem, whether it be spraying or issuing of public notices or whatever turns out to be the best way forward next week.
On public land.
Well, if we're going to post notices, we can post them in a lot of different places.
Okay.
You know, that's what.
Yeah.
In other words, let's give the city manager the discretion to do what the best thing is to be done.
I'll second that.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Claude. Anyone else? Patty, can I get a roll call?
Okay, so we're voting on the amendment. Councilor
Yes.
Councilor Olivera,
Yes.
Councilor Klepak,
Yep.
Councilor Green,
Yes.
Councilor Foss,
Yes.
Councilor Frankie,
Yes.
Councilor Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Move to adopt as amended.
Second.
Shall I
Any
go?
discussion? Nope. Patty, can I get a roll call?
Yes. Councilor Morris,
Yes.
Councilor Olivera,
Yes.
Councilor Klepak,
Yep.
Councilor Green,
Yes.
Councilor Foss,
Yes.
Councilor Frankie,
Yes.
Councilor Thomas.
Yes.
Vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
That was all three, Patty?
Yes.
All right. So before you guys adjourn, again, if you are an organization that does this sort of work, start contacting the city manager, whether you're from Waterville or Alaska, we don't care. Come help us with this brown tail moth issue. And all of you again, thank you. I know I dragged you out on Friday night, but I appreciate all of you.
And with that, it's a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Done deal. Everybody have a good weekend.
All right, close the
Bye.
window.